There we are. Hey, Chidori. Hey, Bear. Okay. Silent. Black. Hey, Dizzo. Oh god, oh no. Great start. Cold. Painful. Rosa regained consciousness bit by bit. And the first thing she thought was that it would have been better if she hadn't. Yeah. After all, her body was so cold and hurt so much, and it became worse the more her consciousness returned. Okay, perfect, perfect. Top of the stream, yeah. Yeah. On the one hand, I want to be like, we've already experienced so much of that maybe I'm already desensitized, you know, for my own sake. And at the same time, I know that Umineko can take things even further. Yeah. This is gonna be the one. Oh my god. Hey, yeah. Great chapter. Okay. It felt like she had been sleeping in the darkness for a long time now, face down on ice-cold marble. Ah, this is why I always tell myself, even if it's just a nap, at least get on the sofa. Yeah, I don't think that's the situation here, but... Okay. Alright, cool. We'll see. Hey Irisma, how's it going? I always know that if I naively try and close my eyes for just a second and end up sleeping on the floor or at my desk, it'll hurt my body later and I'll suffer for it. Because she slept on such a cold and hard floor, she was chilled to the bone. Because she slept on such a hard and cold floor, the side of her face that had been pressing down against it was very painful. Ay. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, Moth-chan. Oh, that's so cute. So cute. If she were to look in a mirror right now, she was sure she would see an embarrassing mark. She didn't think that just rubbing it would make that mark disappear, but she stroked the hurting side of her face for the time being, trying to smooth it over. Where is this? She thought it was pitch black, but that appeared not to be the case. After all, she could faintly see her own body. Without a doubt, there was some source of light, but even when she looked up at the ceiling or else the sky, there was only an expanse of blackness, and she couldn't see any such thing. Her body alone was slightly lit, whereas everything else was sunk in darkness. That's what this world was like. It was almost as though Rosa alone had been abandoned in a forgotten world. As her mind grew clearer, she started getting nervous about why she was all alone in a lonely place like this. When she was about to call out, asking if anyone was there, patter, patter, she heard footsteps coming towards her. Hey Zeku, how are you? He's gonna reply with a thumbs up. You always do. Which is great, it's always a good thing. They were light footsteps, so she thought it was probably a kid. They didn't feel creepy to her. There it is. So she wasn't afraid. But they also weren't Maria's footsteps, so wondering who in the world would be in a darkness like this, she stared at the direction she could hear the footsteps from. As she did, a faint, approaching silhouette came into view. It looked like a child much younger than Maria. Who is that? I didn't know him, but the expression on his face was like a lost child separated from his parents. As a parent with a daughter myself, I felt as though my chest was being torn apart. The instant the kid muttered that infantile word, I felt a sharp pain in the half of my face that was aching from the cold floor, as though it had been pierced by long, thin, hard needles. I reflexively pressed my hand against that side of my face.
大丈夫？まだ痛い？ りがとう、僕。ここはどこ？すごく寒いわ。
こっちへ来て、ここにいちゃいけない。
He took my other hand and pulled with a grim expression on his face. I don't have a clue what's going on. However, a single honest expression from a child can often tell the truth better than 100 empty words from an adult. She didn't understand the situation, but even so, Rosa dashed along with him wherever she was pulled. However, this was a world where nothing could be seen in the darkness except for their own forms. She couldn't even really feel whether she was actually moving forwards as she ran. Even though I'm running, I can't feel any wind. It's as though I'm still inside a nightmare, that kind of unreal feeling. So even though I was running, I couldn't maintain my sense of balance, and my legs got tangled and I fell. Even in a world that didn't feel real, the pain of smashing my face against the cold hard floor was reality itself.
ウリュウ、大丈夫？
ごめんなさいね。頭が痛むの。
When he said that infantile word, Uryu, pain like being stuck with needles ran through my head again. Even though it had only happened twice, I was somehow able to understand that his word was the cause of my pain. So I said so frankly.
ごめんなさい。ウリュウという口癖をやめてもらえる？
ウリュウ。
ちょっと、やめてって言ってるでしょ。
ごめんなさい。
This time I got a feeling that his words of apology made me feel a sharp pain in my forehead. What is this child? I know there's no malice in him, but when I'm around him, my head hurts.
大丈夫？早く行こう。ここは行っちゃダメ。
どうしてここにいちゃダメなの？ねえ、ここはどこ？あなたは誰？あなたのママはどこ？
僕を作ってくれたのはママだよ。
I straightened the kokoro. He stared at me with round eyes. This kid's mama is me? Who is he? Who is this kid? I don't remember at all.
僕のこと忘れちゃった？ママが僕を作ったんだよ。
ちょっと冗談はやめて。私の子供はマリアだけよ。そう。マリアはどこ？マリアはどこなの？マリア！
I suddenly grew uneasy about Maria not being there. Why am I all alone in a place like this? Where's Maria? Maria being there for me is the only thing that keeps me together.
マリアはいるけど、今はマリアじゃない。今は会わない方がいいの。その方がママのためだし、マリアのためにも。
え？何を言ってるの？マリアはどこ？マリア！返事をして！
マリアに早くこっちに来て、ママ！
He pulled my hand again. He was probably pulling me in the opposite direction from Maria. So I stopped in my tracks.
話してよ！大体、あなたは誰よ？
Uryu moment, oh yeah.
あなたにママなんて言われる覚えはないわよ。
僕を作ってくれたのはママだよ。忘れちゃったの？マリアのバースデープレゼントにするために僕を手作りしてくれたの忘れちゃったの？
マリアの作太郎。
うん、ママに作ってもらったライオンのぬいぐるみだよ。
A fierce, sharp pain struck me. It came from the palm of the hand he was grasping. I instinctively knocked his hand away, and when I looked at my palm, a hole the size of a thumb had opened there, and thick, deep red blood was gushing out. It was a hole so big that I could see through to the other side.
ウリュウ、大丈夫？大丈夫？どうしたの？
Saktaro also noticed my wound and panicked. Judging by his reaction, he couldn't understand why my hand had sustained a serious injury. But to my eyes, it felt like I had sustained that injury because he had grabbed my hand. Whether there was malice in him or not, I understood that this child was something that would do harm to me, and he instantly became strange and frightening.
あっちへ行ってあなたなんか知らないわ作太郎は気持ち悪い下手くそなぬいぐるみでしょ私は知らないわよママなんかじゃないわよあっちへ行って消えて
Yeah, you're probably right. Slowly, the base of Sakutaro's neck tore in a horizontal line. Oh. It gaped open and the pitch blackness inside him peeked out. There was no gushing of blood, only an endlessly empty blackness. And then from inside of the gash, cotton snow poured out, and he slumped over, scattering bits of cotton about. All that remained there was crumpled yellow cloth and bits of cotton that looked like sticky crushed cotton candy. A lion stuffed animal. Without a doubt. They were the remains of the Sakutaro stuffed animal I had torn apart on that day, overcome by my emotions. The instant I admitted that, a long, sharp shriek that could rupture an eardrum tore the world apart. Like a flood from a broken dam, or like a broken TV, Maria wailed in a high-pitched voice. Maria's voice, which made the ears throb, brought up two emotions. The first was regret. I let my emotions get the better of me and committed a terrible mistake. A mother's desire to kneel down right away, hold Maria's head, cry with her, and apologize. And in fact, I did that right away. I held Maria's head and apologized in tears for what I had done. But Maria didn't stop crying. On the contrary, she rejected me, the one who had torn her closest friend apart, and pushed me away forcefully with both hands. Since I had been on my knees in an unnatural position, I fell backwards easily. Maria scraped together the yellow scraps of cloth and cotton bits, buried her face in them, and cried even more. Watching that, the other emotion welled up. It welled up rapidly, and then burst. I mean, she won't come around even when I apologize, and there's nothing I can do now anyway, and it's all Maria's fault in the first place. I mean, she can't make any friends because since she's forever taken up with this make-believe stuffed animal thing. And that's why she's treated like a weirdo, and you know, this is a good opportunity for instructive guidance. It's not like I was pampered all the time myself. I have so many feelings about that. Okay. Things eventually break, are stolen, are broken. Even I had lots of toys and treasures stolen, broken, made fun of, and thrown away by my brothers and sisters and father and mother. But though I might have cried about that, though I might have shed a few tears, not once did I sob like this and trouble my parents. Throw a tantrum, get in a terrible mood, pound and kick the floor and make a horrible racket. Oh wow, you are so great, Rosa, well done. I always wanted to, but I thought I'd get in more trouble if I did, so I always held it in. It's because I held it in that I was able to come to the wonderful adult, to become the wonderful adult I am now. Suddenly I felt something strangely missing. The same feeling as when you use a tool recklessly and it finally breaks, so that you're left holding only the base. But I hadn't been using a tool. I had only been using my own two hands to hit Maria's head repeatedly. Good job. Wow, aren't you such a fine adult? Oh, man. I'm sorry, I need to recover myself. It's not okay to continue like this. I know it's not. Okay. So, I looked at my hands. From my wrists onwards, my hands had snapped off, cracked off, and were gone. As though only those parts of my arms had become ceramic. Now, everything beyond my wrists literally had become ceramic at some point and had broken and fallen. Cracks had formed in them because I had hit Maria too much and they had fallen off. Look, see? Aren't those my hands there, lying smashed by my teeth? There was no pain, but the shocking sight of both my hands breaking off at the wrists made me scream.
何これ何これ私の手
これでもうマリアを叩けないね。
Ignoring my confusion, Maria said that with a very cold voice as she slowly moved her hands away from her head, where they had been defending against my barrage.
何よこれ
Is that sarcasm, Zeku?
私の手
Family bonding, oh man.
何をしたのよマリアこれは何なのよ何これ何これ
A black silhouette was suddenly standing behind Maria. It was the silhouette of an adult. Who?
娘の頭をなで絵本をめくり温かい食事を作ることのできる腕なら残してもよいかと考
ママはマリアの頭を撫でるより叩く方が多いよ。絵本なんかめくってくれない。ご飯だって作ってくれない。マリアが自分で買いに行くの。でも同じお店に何度も行っちゃいけないし、顔を覚えられてもいけない。おまわりさんに話しかけてもいけない。なんで？どうして？マリアが悪いの？マリアはママに撫でてもらったり、絵本を読んでもらったり、一緒にご飯を食べたりしちゃいけないの？どうして？どうして？マリア悪くないよ。マリア悪くない。ママが悪い。ママが悪い。ママは一緒に遊んでくれないけど、サク太郎は一緒に遊んでくれた。本も読んでくれた。テレビも見てくれた。一緒にご飯も食べてくれた。ママよりもっともっと大切な友達だったのに。
悪かったと思ってるわ。でも仕方ないでしょ。ママは仕事で忙しいのよ。仕事でママの仕事が忙しいのは知ってるでしょ。仕方ないのよ。仕方ない。
そうだこれは仕方なきこと。そなたの娘が傷つき心を引き裂かれ涙に血を浮かべることさえこれをなれば今この場にてこのようなることになるもまた全ては仕方なきこと。さあマリア母を名乗った女の言い分は以上だぞ。許せるか否か無罪かはたまた有罪か。
許せない。ママは有罪だ。 作太郎にママがしたのと同じ目に合わせてやる。ママを首の縫い目のところから引き裂いて中の綿をぶちまけてやる。
Maria's eyes ominously flashed blue. In that instant, invisible, massive arms stuck their fingernails out and grasped Rosa's entire body tightly. The bones all throughout her body made sounds like twigs being stepped on as they readily cracked and broke. Rosa vaguely understood. The massive arms are probably my own arms from the time I tore Sakutaro apart. From a stuffed animal's perspective, my arms must certainly have been this massive. So I could imagine what would happen next. The sharp nails stuck strongly into the base of my neck, and I heard the skin tearing my own ears. Then, watched over by the two witches, Rosa's flesh was split into top and bottom. When Sakutaro had been torn apart, bits of cotton had flown about like snowflakes. But in Rosa's case, something like thick black tar came out filthily flying all over the place. There wasn't even a trace of the red of blood. It was something black, filthy, and thick. It was probably what a bloodless, tearless human kept inside their body instead.
これはすごい。醜い。なんと汚らわしき中身か。見事であったぞ、マリ。さあどうか。そなたの復讐は、そなたは母を許せるか否か。無罪か有罪か。
許せない。まだまだ許せない。有罪だ。
Beatrice brandished her pipe wand, and a surge of gold butterflies regenerated Rosa's broken body in an instant. We're doing that again, aren't we? Great!
一つの命で償えぬほどのそなたの大罪、身をもって知れ。そして自らの深き罪を思い出す。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。そなたがどれほどの罪を犯した。
もしもし、ママなの？ママは何時に帰ってくるの？
ごめんなさいね。今日も仕事が忙しくて泊まりになってしまうの。
It wouldn't be an Umineko episode without some Rosa torture. Oh my god.
またお仕事でお泊まり？ママのお仕事、今日も大変だね。
ごめんね。本当に忙しいの。もうずっと会社に缶詰よ。外の空気も吸えやしないわ。ママの仕事は早く終わらすだけじゃダメなの。より良いデザインをあげないと次から仕事をもらえない大変な仕事なのよ。だからどうしても時間がかかっちゃうの。
うん。わかってるよ。マリア、いい子でお留守番してるから、お仕事いっぱい頑張って、早く終わらせて、お家に帰ってきてね。
ママのお仕事を分かってくれて、明日美味しいケーキを買って帰ることを約束する。
ケーキいらないよ。ケーキ屋さんによって遅くなるより、その分、ちょっとでも早くママが帰ってくる方が嬉しい。
大丈夫よ。早く帰ってくるわ。約束する。だから美味しいケーキを2人で食べて、美味しい紅茶を2人で飲んで、一緒に新しい絵本を読みましょう。この間買った狼と羊のパズルで遊びましょうね。2人で一緒に。約束よ。
うん、約束。待ってるね。お仕事頑張ってね、ママ。
ほうほう。寂しい話ではあるが、互いを思い合う良き親子愛ではないか。何か問題があるというのか、マリ。そしてローザよ。
その約束は私はちゃんと守ったはずよ。次の日の夕方に約束通りケーキを買っていつもより早い帰宅をした。
マリアは知ってたよ。あの日の夕方ね、ママ宛てに着払いの荷物が来たけど、 お財布の中のお金が足りなかったから、ママにどうしようって相談したくて会社に電話したの。特別な時以外はかけちゃダメって言われてたけど、ママのお仕事の大切なものだったら悪いしと思って、電話。そしたら、ママはお休みだって言われた。その日はずっと前からお休みに決まってて、遠くへ遊びに行っているって言われたの。マリアは知ってたよ。ママが嘘をついてるって。ずっと知ってた。でもね、作太郎がそうじゃないってマリアを叱ってくれたの。ママは毎日お仕事でとても大変。マリアを放っておいて遊んでるはずなんてないって。ママはお休みって言った人はきっと何か勘違いして言ってしまったんだよって作太郎がそう言うんだもん。マリアは信じたよ。マリアは信じた。ママ大好き。ママ大好き。もちろんママだってマリアを愛してる。愛してるって。
ええ、私もよ。愛してるわ、マリア。
Rosa let out a deep sigh. Maybe she felt the weight of her words. Then she set the receiver back on the bedside phone. The dark room made the window-side view of the starry sky on the ground stand out even more beautifully. On the table in front of that terrace was a very cold wine cooler, and the one she was enjoying a glass with was stargazing at the scene below.
娘さんに旅行って話してないんですか？
行くって言って前にうるさかったんで、以来言わないことにしてるんです。その方が面倒がなくていいんで。
娘さんが気になるなら無理に日程を組まなくてもよかったじゃありませんか。
でもそれじゃいつまで経っても予定が合わないし、それは気にしないでって言ったでしょ。
The slender middle-aged man clad in a white robe gave a small sigh. Rosa reacted sensitively to that slight action.
もう娘の話はなしにして。せっかくの上等なワインが台無しよ。
私はあなたに一人の人間としても女性としても魅力を感じていますですが、だからこそこうして時間を割くのは申し訳ないと感じています。
A sensible person.
私と娘の事情は気にしないでくださいっていつも言ってるじゃないですか。
And he's not listening, for good reason.
あなたと二人きりの時に娘の話はしないようにしているでしょ。電話だって下のロビーでうるさい酔っ払いがバカ笑いしてなければここではかけなかった。
Does she really believe this counts positively for her?
ローザさん、こういう唐突な日程での旅行は娘さんのためにも今後は少し考えませんか？互いの日程があった時だけでいいじゃありませんか。
それじゃ全然日程が合わないじゃないですか。私はいつだって一緒にいたいのに。
それは子供の恋愛の仕方です。
Very good observation.
大人同士の恋愛はもう少しストイックであるべきですよ。
I'm liking this guy. Okay.
ローザさんと一緒にいられる時間が長く取れないことは僕も寂しいです。ですがその限られた時間と機会で僕たちは十分に大人の恋愛を楽しめていると思いますよ。
それはもっと娘と一緒にいろと、女でなく母でいろということですか？
あなただって望んでいることでしょう。娘さんと一緒にゆっくり過ごしたいとあなただって思っているはずだ。僕は逃げません。僕との時間を優先するために娘さんを犠牲にするのは気の毒だと申し上げたいのです。
I don't get it. I don't.
僕
This
さん
makes it so much worse. Oh my
戻し
god.
たんですか？
Okay. Even worse. Even worse. Okay. Okay. Oh my god. Yep, exactly. Seconds before disaster. But the thing is, everything that he said was perfectly sensible, and I agree with him. And now this is thrown into the mix. Okay, great.
別れるのが嫌になったんですね。
That's why I need to allow you again. It's okay, there you are. I don't know, I didn't really catch that, at least from the particular phrases I heard right now. Because he said something, I'm not going anywhere, I'm here. Right? So... yeah. It was starting to sound alright until this wrench was thrown in. I'm like, okay, great. But still. The arguments he was putting up were... like, what are you doing in your relationship with your daughter, right? If even he can notice that and comment on it, like, just how blind is Rosa? Oh my god. He was cooking up till now. If he's not going anywhere, then why won't he visit Maria too? Okay. This was just an excerpt of one conversation, okay? I didn't expect them to cover absolutely every single detail about it, but okay. Wait, I need to click back in.
妻の話はしたくない。あなたが娘さんの話をしたくないのと同じです。
子連れの女は面倒だって思っ
そんなこと今までに一度も言ったことはありませんよ。
みんな子連れだと分かると手のひらを返す。あの子の養育費は気にしなくていいからと言ってもみんな手のひらを返す。
So she's projecting past experiences onto him as well, or onto this particular instance of an experience. This... God, this is all so wrong, Rosa.
あなたは娘のことを理解してくれてると思ったのに、やっぱり子連れだと嫌なんですね。
そうは言っていません。ローザさんのことを嫌いになってなどいませんよ。私が言いたいのは、娘さんをもっと大事にしなさい。あなた自身もそれを望んでいるはずだ。だから娘さんに嘘をついて自らを傷つけてほしくない。そう言ってるだけなんです。
嘘つき！私のことが面倒になっただけ。そうでしょ。
そんなことは言っていない。
いいえ、わかるの。私にはわかるわ。あの子を理由に何度も捨てられた私だからわかるの。雰囲気でわかるわ。そうよ、あなたもそう。他の男たちと一緒。子連れの女は嫌なのよ。バツイチは嫌なのよ。面倒なのよ。
I have no words. I don't know. Let's go
知らない
on.
男と作った子供の親になんかなりたくないんでしょ。
He's lecturing her on Maria while he himself is cheating on his wife. I can understand Rosa's reaction a bit. Okay, I don't really quite grasp what's going on with the wife. Are they separated, or is it just him who's cheating and he's completely like duping her? Okay, I don't know. Whatever. It's not alright. It kind of throws a wrench into some of the things. But I still believe his argument stands of like Rosa needs to take better care of her daughter, and he pointed that out, and that part is not wrong, okay? In spite of the entire context, situation, his own stuff and whatever, he is right to point that out. What Rosa is doing right now, she's completely projecting past experiences, her own insecurities, and her own, in a way, the things that she believes about herself, that she doesn't want them to be true, but she still believes them and are kind of ingrained in her, about her being lesser because she has a daughter. She is projecting all of these onto this guy who didn't actually do so much to deserve all of these wild accusations, okay? In spite of all of the messed up things about him cheating on his wife or whatever. The argument isn't wrong, but it's coming from the wrong person. Okay, so... so he shouldn't comment on it and be even more of a douchebag? He's a bit less of a douchebag because he's like, I don't know. He has expressed openly that he has no interest in deepening his relationship with Rosa. I don't know, I didn't catch that from this particular conversation, okay? Maybe I missed it. Maybe you've seen more... maybe you've seen this multiple times, or you've seen other things and you kind of like have a better picture in your head, but I didn't necessarily catch that. And like, I wouldn't necessarily completely dismiss a correct point, even if it's made by a questionable person, as long as the point is actually correct. And this one is, so... Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine, I'm just expressing what I feel. I feel a lot of things right now. This sentence, you don't want to become the parent of a child made with another man, right? Like, she's constantly projecting. She is. I mean, if she was even looking for a man who was father material, she wouldn't be going out with someone who's already married, right? Right? Because if she went into the situation knowingly, then she must understand that there are some things there that are never going to happen, right? And even if he wasn't married, and if this was, let's say, somewhere in the beginning of the relationship and he was taking it a bit slower, a bit more casual, let's say, not committed from the very first day, that still would have been fine, and still unfair for her to dump this on him. His family material empirically. That's not really what I meant. I just meant if Rosa was actually looking for someone who had the availability and potential to be Maria's father, she wouldn't just by default go into a relationship with someone who's married. Because obviously he doesn't check the boxes. Kyosuke's good name, what? Yeah, she is. She is absolutely desperate. It's like there's this contradiction constantly living within her, because she wants attention, she wants to not be alone, and at the same time, the moment she gets any semblance of closeness, she starts pushing that away and projecting all of this bullshit onto the person. He definitely is not the right person, but it's also not alright from her side to do this. So.
そうよね。その気持ちすっごいわかるわ。
Bottom line, they're both in the wrong. in this respect.
小連れの男と付き合ったことがあるけど、その気持ちすっごいわかったの。
Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, okay.
だから娘を理解してくれるあなたとなら一緒になれるって信じたのに。
Am I reading this right? Is she saying that she went out with a man who had children, and so she felt towards him and his children the thing that she's projecting that this guy and other people that she's been involved with feel towards her and her child? So she understands it because she felt it, but she wants someone who doesn't feel that. But she herself is not capable of not feeling it. Can I? Of course, she got hurt before, maybe even many times, so it's not easy for her to hold these things back. Doesn't make it right, of course. Yeah, I know. Oh my god. The more you read, the worse it gets. Oh god.
そうよ。あんたなんて邪魔だったのよ。あんたさえいなければ私はとっくに女としての幸せをつかめたのよ。あんたの存在が 私の幸せをいつも邪魔するのよ。
The bitter truth is that if those men, setting aside this guy who I don't know how things ended up with anyway, and who was a dead end from the get-go because he was married, setting that aside, if all of those men couldn't get past the fact that she had a daughter, and they couldn't make it work because she had a daughter, even if she hadn't had a daughter, those men wouldn't have brought her happiness. Because if this is enough for them to step aside and be annoyed, then they're not the kind of people who actually would have a sturdy, long-term, deeply connected relationship. Because they're just not. Rosa bringing a shovel to a magic mine. What? I was like, wait, I missed what Zeku said. Just when you thought we reached the bottom, Rosa shows up with a shovel and starts digging. Who let her dig? And this is like, it's so sad. What I feel right now is just a deep, deep sadness. I feel like I want to cry, but I have no tears because it's just so much. That something genuine and based on actual love and connection that could have been between Rosa and Maria is being severed and destroyed and split into all of these little pieces, torn apart because of Rosa's illusion that she can find happiness with those men who seem to all have been the wrong men, and not necessarily to point fingers at them for being the wrong men, but also to point a finger at Rosa because she keeps choosing them. Like, hello, okay, 1, 2 can happen, right? Maria's father, who we don't know who he is, he left them and whatever. Wrong choice, clearly. Maybe she could have had then 1 or 2 more who, okay, still didn't work out. Fine, it can happen. But then it becomes a pattern. And then you have to look at yourself. Why do you keep choosing these people? And even with this guy, she like by default chose the wrong guy. He was from the very get-go a dead end, and she just still went into it. And she's breaking Maria's heart, and she's destroying whatever semblance of a relationship, even like a very casual one that she had with him, by projecting all of these things. What the heck is she achieving? She's sacrificing this very real thing to chase an illusion that could never happen because she's choosing to go for it in contexts where it's just impossible. It's the downward spiral. Oh my god, my mind is doing, it's an overdrive. Remember when Maria said that Rosa sometimes came home crying and said that Maria was her only ally in the world? I think she's very, very torn over this and kept getting worse, sadly. Yeah, I remember that part. Which makes me even sadder, because she did have moments when she realized that all of these people don't actually care about her, and that Maria is the only real thing that she has in her life, and yet she chose to instead of being with her and loving her and having a good relationship with her and just, you know, just spending time with her kids, she chose to chase after all of these dead-end men. Like, even shortly before the scene, she says, Maria is the only thing keeping me together. Yeah, you're right. The thing is, it's not enough for her to say that. It's like, I was listening to a song the other day that I really like. It has a good part that I think it actually applies here. Something like, I'm your everything only when you feel alone. So only when everything else in your life has disappointed her, everything else in her life has disappointed her, only then does she looks to Maria and says, Maria, you're my only thing, you're the best thing in my life, blah, blah, blah. And then with the next chance she has, she just like ditches her, and oh my god, okay. I don't know. I wouldn't go so far as to make a parallel with NJ. I don't know. I think there's a lot more in the way of it being explainable by the very real traumatic experiences in NJ's life, whereas Rosa, even though I understand she went through a bunch of hardships, being the youngest child definitely did a number on her and everything, but no. No, so Rosa is an adult. And she's a teenager who grew up parentless and brotherless. No, I don't know. It doesn't convince me. Comparing their lack of ability to be happy. Yeah, but still, Rosa should know better. Anyway, let's go on.
私だってあんたなんか産みたくなかったわよ。いいえ違うわ。あんたと一緒に幸せな家庭を築けたらと思ったわよ。でもあんたが生まれる直前にあいつは蒸発したわ。私と温かい家庭を築くと言って私を騙し永遠に私の前から消え去ったわ。残ったのはあんただけ。愛も思い出も何もない。あの男は今どこへ。私との日々を温かな思い出に勝手に変えて新しい恋人に出会ったかもしれない。そして今度こそ幸せな家庭を築けたかもしれない。そして私はあんたがいる。恋も探せない。男は好きに女を渡り歩いて武勇伝気取りなのに女には私にはあんたがいる。あんたという重しがいるのよ。あんたのせいで私は恋を探せない。愛が得られない。一人で生きていくしかない。いいえそれさえも許されてないわ。私には一人で酔いつぶれたい夜さえ許されていない。
We know very little about the man. What we know is that he fully abandoned his child, which is condemnable enough to not like him. That's fair. But all of this that Rosa is doing on behalf of the pain that he caused her, this is on Rosa exclusively, I would say. Because it's understandable to be in pain, and it's understandable to not be I know, to be left scarred after that, and you know, not be the perfect human, make mistakes, and sometimes be overcome by the sorrow of it and so on. But this is just way too much. To go so far as to make your child, like, in your head, guilty of the pain that you endured, it's And if Rosa gives that pain to Maria, is it right for Maria to tear her mother apart? No. That's also not right. That's also something that... But okay, I wanted to see how it would develop. But no, I don't... See, that's the thing. I am absolutely annoyed at Rosa. But I don't like what Maria is doing either. But that, yeah, I was gonna let it just play out and comment at the end. For me, it's the fact that he just dipped and made the whole Rockenjima deal like his best. I see your point. Who would want to date a childless Rosa? That's actually a very good point as well. She is not the most stable human being. Yeah, let's keep going. Oof. Yeah, I apologize for the pause, but actually it did me a lot of good because I took a lot of things off my shoulder, off my chest.
あんたは誰？何者？私の人生を台無しにして私の新しい人生さえ許してくれないあんたは私死ね！消えろ！あんたなんか生まれてきた時から大嫌い！あんたがお腹の中にいた頃から大嫌いだった！それを前向きに受け入れようと頑張って良き母を演じてきたわ。同世代の女性たちが独身を謳歌し時に恋に遊びあるいは愛に結ばれるのを横目に見ながら私は女と母の二足のわらじを履き続けたわ。その私の苦労を誰がねぎらったの？
I think Maria did, but okay.
誰も褒めない、称えない。
Oh god, I can't.
自業自得。子持ちは嫌。負け組の遠吠え。うぶな小娘がいい？こっちから願い下げよう。ケツの青い若造どもが。
I mean, yeah, this is the right attitude to have towards men who are like that. Why didn't you have that attitude? When the time was right. Enjoy. Yeah. Right, enjoy is... I understood what this meant. So I kind of glossed over it. Yeah. Yeah, very, very enjoyable.
必死だった私はさぞかし簡単に落ちる女に見えたろうさ。必死だったわよ。まだまだ恋をしたい年頃の私が日々を仕事と育児で忙殺されていき、このまま老いてこのまま人生を終えるだろうと、それほど必死だったか想像もつかないでしょうよ。あんたの本当の父親ももちろん憎いわよ。でも破局を迎えた責任は私と彼に半々だわ。私にも逃げられるだけのしつこさがあったのかもしれない。でもその後の破局は全部あんたのせい。私はあんたにそれをなじったことはあったないでしょ。男に逃げられて酔いつぶれたいその次の日があんたの授業参観。泣き晴らした目を厚化粧でごまかして、あんたが的外れな発言をしてクラス中から失笑されてた時のあんたどころか世界中の誰にもわからないでしょうよ。あんたが嫌い、大嫌い。そしてこれまでにあんたを本当に愛したことなんて
Maria's face was frozen. If words really were blades, Maria's whole body would probably have been stained red with fresh blood by now. Even after gaining the power of a witch and resolving herself to take revenge for Sakutaro, she couldn't stand these curses coming out of her mother's mouth.
ああ、情欲に溺れた女のなんと醜きことか。これがこの女の本性よ。邪悪を極めし千年の魔女のわらわとて見るに耐えぬことこの上なし。ああマリアよ、今こそ決別の時。そなたの母を名乗った醜き肉の塊を打ち砕け。そなたの無垢なる魂が親子なる鎖にてこれ以上束縛される意味はなし。
Even now, she defends the men who hurt her like this in the first place. Yeah, it's a weird combination of blaming and defending and taking blame on her own shoulders for things that she's actually not to blame, and projecting blame onto Maria, who is definitely guiltless in all of this. Yeah, anyway. Beatrice interprets this outburst of Rosa as a craving for lust. I mean, it's a part of it. Obviously, it's more complex than that.
自らの魂を今こそ解放せよ。そなたは自らを守る牙と爪を。
マリアを苦しめてきた日々を今こそ思い知らせてやる。苦しみの日々を今こそ復讐してやる。
その私を苦しめてきたのはあんたじゃない。私が復讐したいくらいよ。あんたが生まれる前にそうすればよかった。あんたなんか産まなければよかった。消えてしまえ。うわ
As Rosa howled, her upper body was crushed in a way that can only be described by the word splat, and in an instant was turned into something similar to a wrung, blood-stained towel.
潰れてしまえ。許せない。許せない。
クズがふさわしい姿よ。
Even though everything from Rosa's waist downwards was upright as normal, the upper half of her body alone was crushed. The extreme difference was altogether bizarre. Then she fell over, but her body was regenerated the instant she fell.
死になさいよ。
さあマリア、そなたの怒りと悲しみはこの程度のものなのか。今こそ復讐の時、怒りと悲しみの生産の時。ぶつけろ、吐き出せ。そなたの胸に打ち込まれたくさびをすべて押し出し跳ね返せ。
Maria's howl was colored by the ugly sound of flesh and bone being simultaneously crushed, as Rosa, who had foully insulted Maria, lay spread-eagled. A neat, perfectly circular area of her chest was squashed into a pulp as though it had been trampled by an invisible elephant. Her heart and her lungs and her ribs were trampled so mercilessly that they were completely indistinguishable. That might have symbolized the pain in Maria's heart up until today.
さあマリア、そなたの気はこれで晴れたのだ。母の罪が許せるか否か、無罪か有罪か。
許せない。まだまだ全然許せない。ママは有罪だ。有罪有罪有罪。許せない。
無論だとも。そなたの苦渋の日々がこの程度の罰で見合ってなるものか。思い知るがいいローザ。さあさあ思い出してごらんなさい。そなたがどんな姿をしていたのか。殺されるためによみがえれ。己が罪を見そぐために殺されよ。
Beato waved her wand, her body was regenerated again, and Rosa sat up, coughing violently in pain. And once again she spat out curses rejecting
お
Maria.
前はママなんかじゃない。魔女だ。マリアとママを苦しめる魔女だ。ママの姿をしているからって許さない。許さない。
魔女はあんたでしょ。気持ち悪い本ばかりよね。魔女ごっこにかぶれて消えるのはあんたの方よ。あんたのせいで私まで変わり者扱い。あんたのせいで、あんたのせいでお前なんか産まなければよかった。お前なんか生まれてくるな。生まれてくる前から大嫌いだったのよ。
Maria screamed. Was she unable to bear her anger and sadness? Or else was she taken over by an indescribable emotion? It was surely a cry of hopelessness. And yet this was the reality that had to be accepted. Even Maria knew. She had known that she was thought of as a nuisance. But even though she knew it, she did not believe it. She believed that she was loved by her mother, and all the various events that should have made her doubt this, she did her utmost to interpret in a positive light, trusting and clinging to her mother's love. But she had no one except her mama. Despite all this, she really did love her mama, and wanted to return to the days when she could still believe that her mama loved her too. So she howled. She brought everything to nothing. She would not accept it. She denied it. She denied the Black Witch making her mother say such things, and the part of herself that couldn't forgive that mother. But she couldn't deny it. This was reality, fact, truth, the answer. Unmistakable, absolute reality. Maria turned Rosa into a lump of meat over and over. In the dark world that reflected her heart, over and over it echoed. That ugly sound which would make one want to cover their ears of flesh and bone being torn apart. Each time Beatrice revived Rosa, she dragged her back into the world of endless torture from which even death was no escape. This was the true deepest hell that the endless witch Beatrice could create. However, this world was not made endless by Beatrice's will, because every time Rosa turned into a lump of meat, Beatrice asked the same question of Maria.
気は晴れたか、マリア。そなたの怒りは母を許せるか。
許せるものか、許せるものか。
That's a good way of putting it. Can your anger forgive your mother? Anger will never be able to do that. It will never be satisfied. It will only consume and consume and consume until there's nothing left.
許さない、許さない。マリアの苦しみのすべてを教えてやる。もっともっと教えてやる。まだまだ足りない、全然足りない。生まれた時から、生まれる前から蔑まれてきたこの怒りと悲しみがどうしても消せないの。
あんたなんか大嫌い、大嫌い。
Again and again she revived her, again and again she returned her to a lump of meat. In all kinds of ways, she crushed her, smashed her, beat her, and tore her to bits. Flying blood, splatter, and flesh had by now turned the once pitch-black world into a mix of red and black. Maria's anger was still not settling down. It was as though she was disgorging all of the rage she had suppressed from the time of her birth until today. If all that was poison to her heart, then would the repeated murder of her mother purify her soul? Could these pointless atrocities save her soul even just a little bit? This endless torture might have started serving as a slight diversion from her sad, unrewarded life. After all, it seemed that she had finally been able to regain her smile.
思い知れ、マリアの不幸の根源め、思い知れ。私の痛みがこの程度ではないこと。どうしたの？もう笑わないの？笑ってみせろよ。
Half of her skull collapsed, eyeballs flew out, and black cranial fluid gushed. Great! Fantastic words that I'm reading! Oh god. Fragments of teeth scattered. I'm glad it's just words and not visuals. I will be grateful for that. Her whole chest, along with her ribs, turned inside out, spewing her filthy innards everywhere around her. All of them writhed, looking like some kind of foul creature. Rosa couldn't let out a laugh anymore, but her face was laughing. It was covered with a twisted laugh, which was filled with the malice that rejected her unwanted daughter. I erased that laughing voice. Next I'll erase that laughing face. I'll erase it, I'll crush it, I'll tear it to bits.
笑えよ、笑ってみせてよママ。
This hurts so.
どうしたのママ、起きてよ、絵本を読んでよ、お散歩に行こうよ、愛してるって言ってよ、次の日曜日の約束をしようよ、お買い物に行こう、映画に行こう、そしてその約束をどうせ破るんだよ。楽しいねママ、楽しいね。マリアは今ママと遊んでるんだね。
そうだ、そなたは今母と遊んでいるのだ。じゃれているのだ。どうか今の感情は怒りでも悲しみでも苦しみでもない。
そうだね、わかるよベアトリーチェ。私は今すっごく楽しいよ。ママと遊んでるんだもん。すっごく楽しい。そしてママを何度も何度も殺してるのに、魔法一つで好きなだけ生き返らせられる。おもちゃは壊したら直せないから大事にした。でも治るおもちゃなら何度でも壊したい。でも、作太郎は治らないんだね。治せないんだね。作ったママが、産んだママが私もママに認められてないんだね。だから壊れたマリアも、もう治らないんだね。楽しいな。楽しいよママ。こんなにも楽しくなったら、なぜかママが許せる気がしてきたの。ねえベアト、これはとっても不思議な感情。
You
どうして
think?
どうしてマリアはママを許せる気持ちになってきたの？
それは生き死にを自由にできる力を得た魔女のみがたどり着く達観の境地よ。
Best. How Seko.
いつでも殺せる。必要なら蘇らせる。面倒ならまた殺せばいい。それをいつでも指一本鳴らすだけでできることを知ったなら、人の世のざれ言などその全ては聞き流すに等しい虫の声いいかよ。
I can't even begin to comment on how misguided that is. And misguided is an euphemism.
そなたに母を許そうという感情が芽生えたのは、そなたが母の愛に目覚めたからではない。そなたが今こそ真の魔女の世界の入り口に立ったからだ。ようこそマリア、深淵なる、そして甘美なる魔女の世界へ。
なったんだ。マリアはもうマリアじゃない。まだ見習いかもしれないけれど、人間の世界を超えた。私はもう原初の魔女見習いマリアなんだ。もう私は何も悔しくない、悲しくない。ママ、許してあげるよ。きっと私はママを許せる。もうちょっとしたら許せると思うの。だって魔女だから。
Okay. Maria probably would forgive her mother eventually, after brutally murdering her countless times. Generously. To be honest, I'm quite neutral to Beatrice in this chapter. She's just being Beatrice, like she's consistent to how she's been thus far. I don't really understand what she is or where she's coming from, so I'm kind of letting it slide.
でけえな、今の落雷は。
Oh my god, my head. So I'm kind of just letting it slide. But I'm just, yeah, I'm tearing up and I'm deeply in pain for Maria's sake.
近いんじゃねえか。
Battler, am I so happy to see your face and hear your voice? Yes, let's talk about the Thunderbolt. It was very big, yeah.
みたいだね。
I prefer this.
いくつになっても落雷にはビクッとさせられるね。
Battler was looking at the dark night through a crack in the curtains. Every once in a while, a pale white lightning bolt would light up the sky, and he seemed to be enjoying it.
お？なんだよ。バトラが騒がしくしてるからマリアが起きちゃったじゃねえか。ごめんなマリア。バトラが騒がしくて。
なんだよ、俺のせいかよ。悪いな、マリア。寝てていいぞ。おやすみな。
Maria was looking a bit hazy with drowsy eyes. She was probably still half asleep and couldn't think straight.
もういい。寝ない。
いいから寝てろって。まだ寝ぼけてるぜ。
寝ぼけてない。
なんだよ。もろに寝ぼけてるじゃねえか。寝てろ寝てろおい。寝ぼけてない。寝ぼけてない。
よせってバカバトラ。もう寝起きのこの機嫌を悪くするなんてバカだな。
寝ぼけてない。寝ぼけてない
分かってるよマリアちゃん。寝ぼけてなんかないよ。だから落ち着いて。寝ぼ
けてないもん。寝ぼけてないもん。
Maybe it was because of her dubious mental state after waking up, but Maria suddenly threw a tantrum. In Battler's mind, he had only been teasing her a little bit, so he was taken aback by this extreme overreaction. George hugged her and held her head, trying to calm her down, but Maria's tantrum wasn't quelled easily. Battler and Jessica were trying to push the blame on each other, saying, "It's your fault, it's your fault."
こら、二人とも静かにして。ジェシカちゃん、ポットにまだお湯があったよね。お茶でも入れてあげてくれる？落ち着いた？マリアちゃん。
It looked like her tantrum was dying down bit by bit, but she was still glaring at Battler, who had made fun of her with sharp eyes.
バトラ君もふざけて言っただけなんだよ。マリアちゃんが寝ぼけてるなんて思ってないよ。だから落ち着いて。ね。
George noticed. Maria was staring at Battler with incredible eyes. Oh. And despite having just displayed all that emotion, she laughed in a small voice. Well, it's not like that wasn't creepy before, but now it's so much worse when she laughs like that. Instead of a laugh, it seemed more like she was muttering while savoring, or else counting each he. As though each time she said he, she was making something brutal happen over and over. George felt something creepy for a split second. You think? But he wasn't able to notice the madness that for a brief moment peeked out of the depths of the girl's eyes. After remaining spaced out for a short period of time, Maria stopped her bizarre quiet laugh and pushed George's arm aside as though telling him to let go.
許す。
そうマリアちゃんは偉いな。バトラ君、マリアちゃんが許してくれたよ。仲直りして。
悪いな、からかって。許してくれ。
ほらマリア。仲直りの印にカフェオレ作ってやったぜ。
砂糖いっぱい入ってるから甘いぜ。いらない。でも許すよ。魔女だからね。
One more time, Maria laughed in a creepy, quiet voice. But it was only for a very short time, so Butler and Jessica didn't think much of it. They decided to think that probably it had only looked that way for an instant, when a flash of lightning had lit up her cheek with a pale white light. It wasn't the lightning that made it creepy. Then they heard the sound of loud and hasty footsteps rushing towards them from the hall. It was already about 10:30 at night, a time that could safely be called late at night. Hearing footsteps like that at this time was not very peaceful. It's actually around that time for me right now. I feel very immersed. Then, along with the clearly disquieting and wild series of knocks, they heard Goda's and Kumasawa's voices. That clearly told them that this was an abnormal situation.
いらっしゃいますかいらっしゃいますかゴーダでございます。
熊沢でございますよ。ご無事でございますか皆さん。どうしたものやら、どうしたものやら。
When George opened the door, the two of them tumbled in, sopping wet. It looked like they had dashed here from the mansion without an umbrella.
どうしたんだよ、二人とも。何があったんだ？
それが
Tomorrow is October 4th? Yes. Is something special on October 4th? Ah, you mean because of the time in the... Ah, okay, I see. The time in the... No, in when these days happen, it's in October. Yeah, I got it. Somehow, thinking about the reality of today didn't really mesh in my head with the happenings on Rokkenjiwa. Sorry.
親方様が旦那様が皆様方が
Good one. No family conferences in the beginning of October. No. Oh, thank you. I needed the laugh. It was a pitch black room. There were no windows, and by the light from the weak bulb, one could only just barely make out the state of things around them. It appeared to be an old, forgotten, dusty underground storehouse with some kind of furniture haphazardly thrown into it. However, even with just a little light, one could at least tell that it probably wasn't a storehouse, because that room was sealed off with iron bars. I endured the most uncomfortable chapter of the visual novel. Oh, pfft. Also, this is rock bottom, you say? It's only uphill from here. Okay. Okay.
ここはどこなの？
It depends on the... Oh god. I would rather not know. Even if there's 0 or 100 more chapters like this, I'd rather not know. And just take them at face value. It will be okay. Eventually.
わからん。ここは屋敷の地下なのか。食堂の真下にこんな部屋があったのか。
I can breathe for now. Okay, thank you. That's reassuring. They had been dropped into what had appeared to be a pit and fallen into this room. Oh yeah, right, because they dropped through the floor. Okay, I remember now. Ah, okay. Let's put that number in the cat box. Good one, Iris Moth. Who knows what the correct number is? It could be 0, it could be infinity. You know, to people who rage quit again during the chapter and didn't pick it up again for days. I don't blame them. I mean, if you do this by yourself, I totally of the mind like I could spend my free time with other things that make me much happier. I, however, have the, I don't know, soft, cushiony landing of having you by my side. So streaming it consistently on the schedule that we already have, and just, you know, bantering with you and talking with each other and, like, you know, telling our thoughts makes it so much more bearable. And even if what's happening in the novel is nothing to be enjoyed in particular, I still enjoy, in the correct sense of the word, just the interaction that I have with you. So I think that's what puts me through the day or through the stream. So it's fine. It's especially bad if you like the Maria Rosa relationship a lot. Yeah, I would see where those people would be coming from, maybe from a place of hope, from a place of, oh, there's actually something good here that's being obstructed by all of the pain and the mistakes, the very human mistakes that are being made in the relationship, particularly on the side of Rosa, because as I mentioned in the past, she's the adult. She has more of the responsibility than Maria does for how things are going between us, right? So I can understand if you're coming from a place of hope, from a place of maybe it will get better or something, and then you're hit with this. You're like, okay, maybe not. Maybe let's read something else. I totally understand. Are you talking about what I was saying, Superman? I enjoyed the experience of reading it with you guys by my side, and chatting with you about what's happening, even if what's happening isn't fun. But if the novel has shown me anything, is that when there's a down point, there will come an up point after that. And it will be so much better for having had that down point. The chapters have been very therapeutic. I understand why. Okay, yeah, alright, sure. We can do that. Okay. We have Kraus and Kirie. Okay, an interesting duo, to be fair. They had been dropped into what had appeared to be a pit and falling into this room. Therefore, it would be appropriate to think that this room was directly below the dining hall. However, not even Kraus could bring himself to believe that there were pitfalls rigged in the beloved dining hall, where he had enjoyed his meals for years, and that directly below it was this dungeon-like room. But the ceiling, when they looked up, was made of rugged stone, and they could not understand from where in that ceiling they could have fallen. Now, all 5 people who had been dropped here thought the same thing. Although they had felt a sensation of being dropped into a pit, there was no way there could be pitfalls in the dining hall, nor could this dungeon-like place be directly underneath it. But in point of fact, they had fallen into this place and were locked in, and so they were confused.
あの高さから落ちて誰も怪我をしなかったのは幸運かもしれませんな。シャノン、カノン、君たちはこんな部屋の存在は知っていたかね。
いいえ、僕たちもこのような部屋のことは存じかねます。
本当に？
本当です。本当にこんな部屋知りません。
It seemed that Kirie thought that there was a good chance that, despite their age, they might know of the mansion's secret tricks, as servants permitted the one-winged eagle. There was long silence, as if evaluating their answer.
いや、シャノンたちが知らないのは事実だろう。何しろ、綺麗好きのシャノンだ。彼女がこの部屋を知っていたなら、もっとピカピカに磨き上げているだろう。この部屋の汚さが君たちがこの部屋を知らないことの証だ。
Interesting.
今はそんなことよりこれからどうするかの方が先決だと思わんかね。
It's probably not the not the thing to hang on to given the situation. But I want to note this is Kraus praising Shannon. Even though Natsuhi didn't really like the way Shannon did her job. That's interesting. It's quite the stretch for the argument he's making. Oh, if Shannon had known about this room, it would have been scrubbed clean. But the subtext of that is that he is praising Shannon for her work. While Natsuhi, as much as I do resonate with her and I like her, she was quite mean to Shannon. And I would say just the very fact of her being mean made Shannon make mistakes. But anyway. Yeah, maybe he did. I forgot. There's been so much thrown at me, okay?
警察にいえそれから救急にも早く電話をしなければ。
Just noting, just a tiny high point for Kraus there. Nanjo's words rang hollow. Obviously, 6 people had been killed in the dining hall. They had all witnessed the exact moments when the 6 had been killed, and what's more, it had been done by half destroying their heads. Anyone could tell, with just a single glance, that they had been dealt a fatal injury. Everyone understood that calling for an ambulance now would be completely meaningless.
ありがとう、南條先生。
The Shannon fan club has forgiven Kraus.
私たちは伴侶がもう生きてはいないことを理解できてる。気休めでも救急と言い添えてくれてありがとう。
夏日。
Once again, an oppressive silence took control of them. But Kraus shook his head harshly over and over and decided just for now to forget the pain of losing his wife and dedicate himself to figuring out where they were.
みんな聞きたまえ。親父はもうダメだ。口で言って理解や説明が求められる段階にもうない。
Nobody answered. Without any kind of discussion or mercy, 6 people had been killed in an instant, and Kinzo had so boldly proclaimed for them to become sacrifices in a 13-person murder ritual. Since they had been locked up in this place, they too would probably become the ritual's next sacrifices before long. Around this time, their eyes were becoming used to the darkness, and bit by bit they were starting to be able to make out the dungeon's interior. What they thought was furniture haphazardly left in the dungeon turned out to not to be furniture at all. They were small cages that could be used to imprison a single person, restraining tables, or were those torture racks? At any rate, it was obviously more ghastly than a mere jail cell. Since those objects were rusted and covered in thick layers of dust, there was no doubt that they had been long forgotten. Maybe you could even have called those things Kinzo's sealed and forgotten madness. However, it was this room in which they had now been locked away. Those objects weren't exactly comforting to people who were locked up, hoping to be released without harm.
とにかく私たちは伴侶や友人を失い、涙を流すことに時間を費やしたいが、今はそれ以上に祈るしかない。
Sorry, I kinda skipped Shannon's line there. I was pressing the button too fast. Sorry, let's hear it.
お子様方はご無事でしょうか。
Shannon's voice is always nice to hear.
そういえば、熊沢さんと郷田さんはここにはいない。
ひょっとすると無事に逃げ延びられたのかも。
かもしれませんな。子供たちと合流しててくれれば心強いのですが。
郷田さんはいざという時頼りになるし、熊沢さんは経験豊富で落ち着いてるし、きっと力になってくれると思います。
そうだといいがな。
Shannon and Kraus smiled bitterly a little. But they quickly realized how improper that was and stopped clearing their throats.
楽観はできないよ、姉さん。僕らに続いて、もう襲われてしまってるか。
同感ね。お父様が食堂で執行したのは、魔女の碑文の第一の番の6人殺しなんでしょ？
God that can be relied upon in times of crisis. Shannon herself can't believe that. To be fair, he did prove himself to be reliable in times of crisis, or to, at the very least, just try his damn hardest. If he didn't stand the chance against a bunch of stakes and witches, it's understandable. But at least his heart and his efforts were in the right place. So I give him that. Even though I didn't like him in the beginning. And I still do not like the way he was pushing his own chores onto the other servants. That's not nice. But I do recognize that in him. And his very genuine joy of making people happy with his food.
なら、第2の番は、寄り添いし2人を引き裂け、逃げ隠れて寄り添っている郷田さんと熊沢さんが、もう殺されている可能性だって否定できないわ。
The Gora fan club has forgiven Shannon for not being.
きっとゲストハウスに合流してて、子供たちを守ってくれているなんて楽観。現時点では全くできないわよ。
Even if they did, given what's happening, how much can they protect them, you know? Kiria coldly analyzed the worst case scenario. Even for her, it was heartbreaking to have lost her beloved husband. But right now, the most important thing was protecting that husband's son, along with the other children, from becoming sacrifices to the insane family had. She overcame her sadness with the parental urge to protect the children. That's... I don't know if you can catch the depths of that, or at least maybe... I don't know, maybe it's something that's more developed in my head than it should be, but none of those are her children. Her actual real child is not even here. And at the same time, Battler is the child for which Rudolph left her, basically, in the past. And yet she's overcome with the maternal instinct to protect them. Doesn't that say a lot about her? I think it does. They could let their tears flow later. For now, in order to protect the children, they had to act.
とにかくここを脱出しよう。相当古い牢屋のようだ。なんとか鉄格子を破れないだろうか。室内をくまなく探して、脱出手段を探してみよう。
ここにはガラクタがいろいろあるわ。何か役に立ちそうな道具とか落ちてないかしら。武器になるものがあるかもしれないし、鉄格子を破れるものがあるかもしれない。
Kitty pulled a lighter from her pocket. She herself didn't smoke, but she kept one tucked away in her pocket to light Rudolph's cigarettes. It was an extremely valuable source of light for searching through this dim dungeon.
シャノンはキリエさんを手伝い、カノンは私と一緒に鉄格子の具合を確かめ、これだけ古い牢屋だ。ひょっとするとガタが来ているかもしれない。
私は何をお手伝いしましょうかな。
体力を温存していてください。やがてここに親父殿が現れるだろう。親父殿に言葉が届くのは南條先生だけです。ある意味、南條先生に我々の命は握られているかもしれない。
私の言葉などもう届きはせんでしょう。申し訳ないが、そのお役には立てそうにない。
なら、南條先生のお医者としての知識を貸してください。人間を即座に混沌させるような毒って存在するのかしら。
人間を即座に混沌させる毒？どういうことですか？
私たちは落とし穴に落とされて、この地下牢に落ちてきたと信じている。あの混乱している場で、私たちはそうだったろうと信じたわ。
Of trying to explain it through something more palpable than, oh, it was magic.
でも、 この地下牢の広さを測ってみて分かった。この地下牢があの食堂の地下というのはありえないことなのよ。
どうしてありえないってわかるんですか？
姉さんはバカだな。この地下牢は食堂に比べて狭すぎる。
その通り。1番目に落とされたのはクラウス兄さん。2番目が私。クラウス兄さんはこの部屋に落ちてきた時、その場を動いたかしら。
お恥ずかしながら落下の痛みでうめいていたよ。そのすぐ傍らにキリエさんがすぐに落ちてきたんだ。
食堂でのクラウス兄さんと私の立ち位置と落下時の落下場所の距離が明らかにおかしいのよ。
確かに言われてみればその
I have
通
to
り
say,
です。
it's an absolute pleasure to have Kirie's brain at work. Trying to decipher and pull things apart and explain them one by one and disentangle them. I love it.
その次に落ちたのは私だから、お二人の位置関係はよく覚えている。
At the very least, it's a reminder to stay grounded even in times of absolute madness.
食堂でのお二人の間の距離はこの部屋よりもあったかもしれない。
Yeah.
私たちは落とし穴に落ちてダイレクトにここに落下したわ。集合する下水道管みたいに一度集められてからここに落ちたわけじゃない。落下は一瞬だったでしょ。そんな凝った排水管みたいな穴を転がされた覚えはないわ。
確かに落とし穴では説明がつかんな。おかしな話だ。
それと、キリエ様のおっしゃる人間を即座に混沌させる毒というのはどう関係があるんですか？
キリエ様は多分食堂に落とし穴なんかなかった。
しかし現に私たちは落ちたぞ。
落とし穴に落ちたような気がするが正解よ。無理もないわ。そうとしか例えられない体験だったから。
なるほど。つまりこうおっしゃいたいわけですな。私たちは落とし穴に落とされたので、例えば毒矢のようなもので撃たれ瞬時に意識を失い、まるで落とし穴に落ちたよと思い込んでしまっているのかもしれない。
なるほど。食堂に無数の落とし穴が仕掛けられていて、我々がそれに何十年も気づかず食事をしていたとするよりは、
Of course.
よほど説得力のある話だ。
姉さん、時計はある？
うん。懐中時計があるわよ。22時40分くらいね。
僕の時計もそうなってる。つまり僕たちは食堂での大騒ぎから十数分も時間を経過させてないってことになる。
私の時計も同様だ。我々が混沌させられてどこかへ担ぎ込まれたと仮定するには、時間だけを見るならやはり我々は食堂の真下へ落とし穴で落とされたと考えるのが妥当だ。
I'm sorry, but it's just so funny that a grown-up ass man like Klaus is like, because this little thing around my wrist or whatever, pocket watch that he has, is telling me that like the time should be a certain thing. Then the only possible explanation is that we actually did fall through a pitfall through a solid floor that has no, and the history of it has not been known to have any sort of holes. I don't know, it's funny. No, it's not reasonable just by looking at the clock, no.
時計の針なんていくらでもいじれるわ。私たちが気絶している間に全員の時計を巻き戻したのかもしれない。
Yes.
その可能性がなかったことは証明不能よ。
Kraus mom.
落とし穴にせよ、混沌させる毒にせよ、私たちは用心するに越したことはないというわけ
You
で
would
すな。
one shot that now. Maybe.
それで南條先生、混沌させる毒は存在するんですか？
それはキリエさんの論法と同じですな。私の知らない未知の毒物にそういう効用のものがないとは証明できません。
用心に越したことはないということね。ごめんなさい。無駄な質問だったわ。ただ、私の仮説により、この地下牢が食堂の真下とは限らないという可能性は示唆できたと思う。
なるほど。広大な森の中のどこかに隠されていると噂される。親父殿の隠し屋敷の地下牢に運び込まれている可能性もあるということか。
This music is so creepy though. Can we like overcome it, please?
ここを脱出して外へ出ればそれもわかる。それを詮索するのはここから出てからでもいいだろう。
その通りね。本当にごめんなさい。さっきから無駄な質問と詮索ばかりだわ。
いや、とても頼もしいよ。今後も何かに気づいたら教えてくれたまえ。ここを脱出する何かのヒントになるかもしれない。ルドルフからいつも聞かされていたよ。君の発想にはいつも驚かされ、時には重要なヒントにもなるとね。君がここにいてくれたのは不幸中の幸いだ。
ありがとう。私もルドルフさんに聞いてるわ。クラウス兄さんは普段は威張っているけれど、いざという時は責任感にあふれる頼りがいのある兄だって。
さすがにそれは世辞が過ぎるね。
Just a few hours ago, they were all at each other's throats. I guess it's cool that they can switch to this in moments of what do you even use to describe this? I don't know. When things get serious.
くそ。それにしても頑丈な鉄格子だ。カノンの方はどうかね。
いえ、こちらも全く。
Kraus and Kanon tried wiggling each of the bars in various ways. There were a few bars that could be twisted, and a few felt like they had enough room to rattle around a little bit, but even so, they could not be broken with human strength alone. Oh, hey! So nice to have you around. Welcome. Kinda sad knowing that after your sibling has passed. Yeah. Another family bonding scene. I guess this is looking at things with love.
Embrace your inner
Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome, welcome. At least in the 11th hour, they understand those things about each other. Yeah. However, there was still hope if they could use some kind of lever-like tool. It was still far too early to give up yet. The children's lives were hanging in the balance. Even if there was no hope, they couldn't stop their struggle. And it was better even for them to act this way. If they were to stop, there was no doubt that they would once again be overcome by the grief of losing their loved ones, and crouch down, clutching their knees. That's true. Gotta keep your head busy with escape strategies.
何か見つかったかね。
握って隠せる程度の石ころは見つかるわ。こんなものでも武器にはなるかも。さすがに鉄格子を削り取ることは無理でしょうね。シャノンちゃんはどう？
いいえ、何も。これ、電話です。
繋がってるわけもないわ。でも、コードは何かを縛ったり、武器にも使えるかも。壊して分解すれば、金属部品を取り出せるわ。クラウス兄さん、鉄格子を開ける鍵穴は、もちろんあるわよね。
ああ。だいぶ鍵穴の大きい、大時代的なものだがね。針金のようなものでいじれば、騙せるかもしれないな。
電話の金属部品で、何か代用できるかもしれない。その電話、武器になるわね。
投資と同じだよ。情報は武器だ。
Kraus and Kitty laughed together at this way of putting the phone to use, which didn't remotely look at it as a means of communication.
何やってんの、お姉さん。
その、電話、繋がってるかなって思って。
バカだな、姉さんは。
Good one, yeah, yeah.
あれ
Suddenly Shannon let out a small surprised cry.
綺麗様この電話、繋がってます。
なんですって？
It was like when people move out of an office, taking everything with them, leaving only the telephone behind. That's the feeling the phone gave off, having been left in the corner of the cell. The cord was wound into a coil, one end of it being swallowed by the wall. I'm glad that the music changed. By the way, I'm so happy. And at a glance it looked as if it could plausibly be connected. But to think that it actually was... Kiria took the receiver from Shannon and pressed it to her ear. The electric hum was certainly the one with which she was familiar. This phone was indeed live.
なんという幸運。警察へ連絡しましょう。
待ちたまえ。話がうますぎる。盗聴されているんじゃないのかね。
It's alright. We all have our own preferences. Completed episode 7 yesterday. Alright, gotcha. You are further ahead.
そんな細工するくらいなら普通は電話線を切断するわ。電柱が本気で見落とした可能性が高い。気づかれたら今度こそ電話線を切断されるかもしれないわ。警察への通報を盗聴されて何も困ることはないのだし。
That did make sense. The point of a wiretap was to overhear some important piece of information, but the way things were now, they could not think of a single thing that could come up in a conversation to the outside world that could be troublesome to have heard. Kiria instantly concluded that it was more likely to be a mistake on Kinzo's part than a trap.
確かに一理あります。
But didn't they have like an internal network, let's say, that just was connecting the house and the surroundings? And then an external one that could call outside of the island. So how are we convinced that this one is connected to the outside? They haven't even tried it yet. Yeah.
外線は確か0番からだ。
Ah, so you can switch it from any phone. Okay.
私は電話するからあなたは外の様子を伺ってくれる？誰かが近づいてくる気配があったら知らせ。
はい。
Kanon raced off towards the iron bars, silenced his breathing, and strained his ears. As everyone present watched her, Kiria dialed the police. However, she pushed the hook down repeatedly and redialed. It didn't seem to be working very well.
外線は0番から ?110 番は0110じゃないの？うまくかからない。
貸したまえ。私がかけよう。
Kraus took the receiver in Kiria's place and tested various things. But in the end, they were unable to notify the police. The phone itself was definitely live, but the circuit was apparently cut somewhere. Did this mean that they were not so naive?
やっぱり無理ですか。
敵も甘くはないってことね。
Kiria let out a deep sigh, leaned against the wall, and hung her head for a while. As though a girl, as tough a girl as she was. For a brief moment, she might actually have had a naive hope that the phone could actually work. She sneered at herself mockingly for holding on to that naive hope for even one moment. And then she thought back upon just what was happening here. Honestly, despite having been shown such a thing right before her eyes, or rather exactly because of that, she still could not think of that gruesome mass murder as something real. It was less that she couldn't believe it, and more that she didn't want to. Ushiromiya Kinzo had killed 6 members of his family. He had summoned strange witch-like, demon-like people right out of thin air. And with something like magic, he had begun to kill people one after another. Oh, I wonder if I'll feel the same when I'm where you are. Too much to handle. Even though she definitely saw it, there was no way she could accept that spectacle.
そんなことあるわけがない。あれはきっとお父様の友人か何か。それがあらかじめ食堂のどこかに隠れていて、手品的に突然姿を現して私たちを驚かせただけなんだわ。そう考えなくちゃあのめちゃくちゃを説明できない。
But when those six had had their heads blown apart, a golden arrow had flown around and around the room. That had truly looked like magic. Good timing to be playing it around October 4th, 5th, yeah. Yeah, chat already noted on that. For a moment I didn't make the connection, then I realized, oh, it's that. But to be fair, we've been playing it for 5 months already. So yeah. It is 5 months, right? We started in May. God. That was another thing we just saw. Oh, sorry, did I misread that? It's not over if you haven't played the other When They Cry games. I'd say Higurashi is just as good as Umineko. Alright. Umineko never ends. It is as endless as I am. Good one, Bear. When those six had had their heads blown apart, a golden arrow, and that had truly looked like magic. Okay, was that another thing we just saw wrong? There's no way it was magic. There must be some kind of trick to it. Since he was capable of smashing heads, there's no doubt it was some explosive. For example, a styrene toy plane, like they sell at the candy stores, painted gold, and with a powerful explosive loaded onto the end of it. That said, at a glance, it had seemed to be flying at random. Kiria couldn't imagine that such a thing could be fired 6 times and each time perfectly hit the victim square in the head, one after the other. Surely its flight wasn't computer controlled to seek out and deliver precise hits on its targets, which would make it a high-tech styrene plane on the same level as a guided missile. You aren't ready for episode 27. Ah, Lord.
そんなバカバカしい仕掛けを膨大な私費を投じて作らせたと？あのおかしな余興のために？お父様ならやりかねないって？
A number of mysterious people had appeared suddenly out of thin air. 6 people had had their heads demolished by a mysterious golden flying object, and the 5 of us were locked away in a mysterious dungeon by a mysterious set of pitfalls, or else put to sleep by some fainting poison dart. The family conference started a bit after 10 PM. It's only been about 30 minutes since then. Probably those events which took place in such a short amount of time, none of us are able to understand nor come to grips with, even though we witnessed them ourselves. Even if we did get a hold of the police, it would probably be impossible for any of us to accurately explain what we saw. I may only just have witnessed it, but my brain's fried and I have no confidence even in what I myself saw. Kiria had to try her hardest to rouse herself from her overwhelming confusion, just to hold onto her sanity.
くそ、どうなってるんだ。くそ、くそ。
Crow started to become desperate, hitting the hook multiple times and redialing over and over. He too was feigning composure, but was unable to hide his panic. The more he redialed, the more the pretense of serenity peeled away. None of this makes any sense. Kiria couldn't help but pray that the events that had just occurred were no more than a dream. Suddenly, the look on Krause's face changed.
呼び出してる。呼び出してるぞ。コロンがする。本当ですか、クラウスさん。なるほどな。親父め、浅はかな。警察に連絡されまいと外部への電話線は切断したらしいが、内線が切断し損ねている。
内線？クラウスさんはどこにかけているの？
ゲストハウスだ。ジェシカたちの部屋の内線番号にかけている。もしもし、もしもし、私だ。お前は誰か？
私だ。Great! It's me! Imagine picking up the phone and hearing, it's me! Who the heck is me?
ゴーダか
I ordered some pizza.
ジェシカはいるか無事か
旦那様ご無事でよかったはいジェシカお嬢様たちも皆さんご無事です
父さんなの無事でよかった母さんは無事なの
Nope.
そこに
She
いるの
dead. She dead. Kraus choked on his words. Kraus had clearly seen Natsuhi's head crushed, had seen her killed right before his eyes. I play without the lip flips, it's really funny to see them in action. Oh, I really like them. I don't know, it gives more dimension to the characters, they feel more alive. The setup of this game board is so interesting for a mystery freak like me. Meanwhile, I'm just having headaches. But yeah, let's see where it goes. Kraus had clearly seen Natsuhi, yeah, we read that. Eventually, he was going to have to tell that to Jessica. However, Kraus began to fret over whether he should tell her this very moment and lost his words. But even that was an answer under these circumstances.
母さんはわからない無事を祈ろう今はお前だけでも無事でよかった
Okay.
わかってるよごめん
Jessica's voice was filled with tears. There was no doubt for Kraus anymore. Jessica and the others had been told everything, start to finish, by Goda and Kumasawa when they had met up at the guest house. After they learned that 6 whole people had been killed, Jessica and the others must have been in a frenzy about wanting to go to the dining hall. Okay, if you already know what's happening and yet you're still getting a headache, I feel like a little bit reassured. In the sense of like, this is madness. This is madness for everyone, even for someone who already knows. Yeah, it's okay. Luckily, he had been able to call before they stormed off towards the mansion. Kraus was relieved at his good timing during such
ここに
tragedy.
は今キリエさんと南條先生それにシャノンとカノンがいる地下牢のようなところに閉じ込められているが心配するなこっちは父さんたちで何とかする
どこ助けに行く
あいにく私たちにもここがどこだか見当もつかん食堂の真下だと思っているがそうでないかもしれないとにかくジェシカそこを出てはならんゴーダたちから経緯は聞いているか
小さなみんな
おじい様は今正常な状態にない出くわせは危険だ殺されるかもしれない私たちを助けに来ようなどと絶対に思ってはならんぞこっちはこっちで何とかする
じゃあ私たちはどうすればいいの小さなめよくも母さんたちをあの死に損ないぶっ殺してやる
ジェシカそんな言葉を使ったら母さんが悲しむぞレディーはそんな言葉を使うもんじゃない
This is not a moment to
お
lecture
前た
her
ちは
about
身の
being
安
a
全を最優先に
lady.
しろゲストハウスを戸締まりするんだしかし過信はできない1階のラウンジの大窓は破られるかもしれないその部屋にとどまりベッドを立てかけてバリケードにするんだ
Jessica's cool.
その部屋にはトイレも冷蔵庫もある明日の朝までは籠城できるはずだいいなくれぐれも物騒なことは考えるな母さんの仇を取ろうなんて絶対に考えるんじゃないぞ相手を刺激せず隠れてやり過ごすことだけを考えるんだ
Oh, sorry.
分かったよ父さん
After that, Goda took the phone and was told again to watch over the children as a responsible adult. Goda repeatedly replied yes sir in an overstrained voice, his face covered in cold sweat. From there, Kiryu received the phone and spoke with Battler, and when Shannon and Kanon got their turn, George and Jessica answered. And following that, Nanjo and Kumasawa picked up as well, so that all members of both sides had their turn on the phone, each encouraging the other and confirming that they were at least safe for now, even if their location was unknown, and coming to a complete understanding of the current situation for both sides. They wanted to talk forever, but now was not the time to chat. Kraus told them that they would be hanging up for now, and those in the guest house agreed.
また何かあったら連絡する。すぐに受話器を取れるように待機していてくれ。くれぐれも用心してな。無茶なことは絶対にするんじゃないぞ。
わかったよ。父さんやカノン君たちが無事だっただけでも儲けもんってやつさ。私たちも頑張る。父さんたちもどうか無事で。
ああ、もちろんだ。それでは一度切る。用心しろ。
With that, the phone call ended. Goda and the rest of the men quickly descended the stairs, closed the shutters, and secured the strong locks on the doors. However, just as Kraus had worried, there was nothing that could be done about the beautiful wide window in the downstairs lounge. If this were to be broken, it would be easy for them to get inside. It wouldn't be hard for someone like Kinzo, who hadn't hesitated at committing murder, to invade the floor.
おじい様たちは武装している可能性が高い。部屋に閉じこもるのが最善かつ唯一の籠城方法になるね。自ら密室に閉じこもらざるを得ないのは苦しいところだけど、相手が銃を持っていたらそれしか方法がない。
親方様は実銃のコレクションをお持ちとの話です。そう、あれは銃だ。だとしたら恐ろしい威力の銃だ。とても太刀打ちはできません。
頭を砕くなんてすげえ威力だぜ。マグナム弾とかそういう類のやつかもな。下手な扉なら平気で貫通するかもしれねえな。
だとすればますますに部屋に籠城するべきだね。ベッドを立てかけて窓も塞ごう。そこまですればいくら銃を持っていても踏み込むことはできないはず。
くそ、そんな受け身な防戦一方しかねえのかよ。
I have a similar feeling as Battler, but I think from a bit of a different direction. I think there's an enemy who wants to hurt us, and the one thing that we can think of doing, which I don't necessarily blame them for, because what else can you do? But the one thing that we can think of doing is barricading ourselves in a room and hoping that the windows and the doors and whatever reinforcement we can put on them is enough of a protective layer between us and them. And then we wait for an indefinite amount of time for an undefined help to come at some point. Maybe it's just me being claustrophobic that's kind of reacting like, I don't know about that. But yeah.
くっしょー。うちの親父に上等を決めてくれて、キリエさんまで捕まえたなんて、こいつは高くつくぞ。クソじじいめ。
無理です。あんな連中に太刀打ちできるわけがありません。しかも親方様だけでなく、手下も何人も。あるいはあんな連中がもっといるかも。あいつらは一体何なんだ。
This music always plays during big brain time. I guess it does. Battler was filled to the brim with the urge to get revenge for Rudolph and to rush out of here to save Kirie. But just by looking at how terrified Goda was, there was no doubt in him that this would be reckless.
兄貴だって悔しいだろ。なのにここで籠城なんて。ちくしょ
う。もちろんさ。僕だって悔しいよ。両親を殺されて冷静でいられるわけがない。でもだからこそ冷静にならなくちゃいけない。僕たちが無駄に命を落とすようなことを殺された親たちが望むと思うかい？思うわけがない。せめて子供だけは逃げ延びてほしいと願ってるはずだ。だから僕は生き残るよ。そして警察に通報し全てを暴く。仇は法廷が取る。 それが僕の復讐だ。差し違えてでも仇を取ってほしいなんて、親たちが望んでいるわけもない。そうだろう。
そうだな。兄貴の言う通りだぜ。畜生クソじじいめ。何が儀式だ。俺たちがそのための生贄だって言うなら、意地でも逃げ切って、その儀式を台無しにしてやるぜ。
それでいいよ。それに、バトラ君にはまだキリエさんがいる。僕にだって、シャノンがいる。とにかく慎重に行動して、チャンスを待とう。僕たちの不用意な行動は、囚われの彼らに不利益を与える可能性だってあるんだから。
人質。でも、じい様はきっと、キリエさんたちを生贄にするために捕らえたわけだろう。俺たちが助けなきゃ、殺されるのを待つだけじゃないのか。
彼らが捕らえられている地下牢がどこにあるかもわからない。シャノンもカノン君も、もちろん、ゴーダさんも熊沢さんも知らなかった。おじい様だけしか知らない秘密の場所にある可能性が極めて高い。そんな状況下で、うろうろと歩き回るのは自殺行為だよ。
わかってるよ。それでも、くそ。俺たちはここで何かが起こるまで、引きこもってるしかねえってのかよ。
バトラ様のお気持ちはわかりますが。
I hadn't thought about it, but you're right. That's kind of how they're saying George.
ここは安全第一で参りましょう。旦那様の話では相当古い牢屋らしいので、なんとか鉄格子を破れるかもしれないとのことでした。今は信じて待つ方が賢明です。
おじい様の手下が何人もいて、みんな武装しているんだよね。
ええ、そうです。そして多分みんな武装を。
Gora had been able to say that Kinzo had others on his side, but he had not been able to mention that they were mostly all young women, like witches, and committed their murders using strange magic. Yeah, because how the fuck do you explain that? If he had said that, it would only have caused the others to doubt his sanity. No, in fact, he himself still couldn't understand what he had seen and was doubting his own sanity. But regardless of sex or appearance, regardless of whether it was done with magic or a gun, the fact that those girls had followed Kinzo's orders and killed 6 people in an instant, that was an unshakable truth. If those people came to attack the guest house as well, what would happen? Just closing the doors and windows like this was surely meaningless. Hi. Is it alright if we stop here? I know it's a bit earlier than usual, but because the past few streams kind of went into overtime, and because we could stop a little bit to talk about the beginning of the stream and stuff, I was looking for kind of an early point, or an earlier point to do it, yeah? Okay. So this is where we are. They contacted each other and now they're on guard and we don't know what's gonna happen. But we'll find out next time. Am I back? Am I doing this again? Why? I want to save. Did I click load? Oh, jeez. I did it last time too. Why do I do that? I don't know. 2 hours is fine. We can use the pain anchor. Okay. Alright, cool. Yes. Ay. Here we are. I kind of slid a little bit to the side again. Here we are. Centered. Oof. Yeah. So from one thing to the other. Right. You mean my necklace? No, it's not an owl. It's Majora's Mask from The Legend of Zelda. But yeah, I guess you could look like it if you, yeah. The scene with bloody-faced Maria tore my heart. I know she was hurting Rosa, but it felt like she was destroying herself the most. I think that's the whole point of it. That's what I was gonna go for. I know, Lizzo, it's okay. If you're worried about leading in terms of my opinion, don't worry about it. Just ask your question. If you feel like it's leading in terms of maybe suggesting something regarding the plot or the mystery or whatever, I don't know if in the first place I could even put it together. But yeah, I don't know. Just whatever you feel like asking, ask, and we'll see how we deal with it. Hey, Tostaters, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you came at the last part. Yeah, regarding the whole Maria thing, let me see how I can gather myself and find some words. I found the scene with Maria pretty cathartic. It needed to be said sooner or later. It needed to be said in terms of the things that they said towards Rosa, or like the point that the novel was trying to make towards Rosa about how screwed up everything that she was doing was. I see. I understand what you mean. I appreciate your care. It's fine. Like, I understand on the one hand that you want to protect me from spoilers and to not disturb, let's say, my own interpretation of things and so on. But at the same time, if we go too much into not talking about things territory, I think it's a bit counterproductive, because the whole point of it is that we're here to talk about it. Sure, be cautious, but like, I wouldn't want to go too much into the direction of cautious and then not have a conversation at all. You know what I mean? As a breaking point for the relationship that's been showing some cracks. A breaking point, sure. I agree, having a breaking point. And I also I see it all as a very painful, very sadness-inducing, heart-wrenching allegory for what happens when someone is hurt to that degree, and when someone's connection with someone else is tarnished and blown to bits to that degree that Rosa did. I want to be careful in how I talk about it, because I realize that it resonates with a lot of people's real life experiences, and I don't want to be insensitive or comment things that could be interpreted as me dismissing their struggles and their pain. Have you noticed Rosa Umineko wink wink? I really don't know. I just thought it was maybe some meme or the way people talk. I don't know what Rosa Umineko means. I saw you throwing in the chat. It was just, oh, maybe it's just a thing. I don't know. It's a meme. Okay. Okay, good. Then we're on the same wavelength about that. Rosa Umineko is a meme. Okay, got it. Got it. I assumed right then. Yeah, in terms of going back to the scene with Maria and Rosa, I think it's a really great thing that the author did there. It's incredibly painful, but it was very much needed given the gravity of the entire context and situation between the two characters and what we've been shown so far. But I don't know if we think about it being needed in the same way. The way I see it is that it starts from a very human desire to hurt the one who hurts you and to voice your pain and just how much you had to endure. And again, it's very human to feel like I want that person who hurt me to feel my hurt. But just how far do you go down that path? I think there was a Reddit post where the whole thread was just Rosa Umineko, and it became a thing. Okay, got it. Understood. Yeah. So how far do you go down that path? And by going down that path, what do you get? I think it's cathartic to see Mari after Fortune finally hurt Rosa back, and it's an awful thing to read. I understand that part, that you want her to react and not just take it all in, and, you know, instead of being upset at her mom, constantly finding the power to either set things aside or to see them in a positive light. And, you know, it was her own way of processing things and trying to make something good out of a really, really bad thing that she couldn't control at all. I will get back to your point this a little bit, just let me finish mine. Yeah, so I think it's cathartic to finally see Maria pushing back. If that's what you felt like you needed to see, you got it. But are you really happy? Like, did it really go to a good place for you, even like in its entirety? Because yes, it starts from this human desire to fight back, and even when watching from the sidelines, or even if you are a bit more personally invested by way of personal experiences that kind of like reflect that or resonate with that, I understand the catharsis, and I could not possibly point fingers and say you shouldn't be feeling that or you shouldn't be fighting back when someone is hurting you. But when you go so deep down the path of anger and revenge and just taking pleasure out of hurting someone, you end up letting those things consume you at the end of the day. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think if I would see someone in that situation going so deeply in this direction, I wouldn't have a ground to stand on and tell them what they should be feeling or what they should be doing, because who am I? I'm just an external person. But if they were my friend and if I cared about them, I would try to maybe sit them down and have a conversation of what that is doing to themselves and what kind of life are they going to be living and what kind of person are they going to turn into if they just keep going there. And I think that image of Maria with like tears and eyes bulging and blood splatter, and yeah, you know what I mean, that one, the one towards the end, I think that's a very good representation of what our soul can eventually turn into if we allow ourselves to go that far and to be so consumed by anger and rage and desire to hurt. And I don't think it's a good thing. By the same token, I don't think you have any sort of duty or responsibility to forgive people who hurt you. But you can acknowledge just how wrong they were in doing those things to you. You can not forgive them and at the same time not be consumed by rage, I think. It's a very difficult thing to achieve. It's probably something that you would spend your entire life or a great portion of your life looking for, if you've been hurt to that extent. But I really do believe that at the end of the day, what you're doing is taking pain caused by someone else to you, causing them to them if you're taking any sort of action, but then it comes back onto you again. And it's not good. And I wouldn't want someone that I care about to carry that around. And I do not like that Maria is going to that extreme. That's all. Let's see, what did Deso say? I think it's interesting that the episode just taught us how it's important to see the good things in life with Enji, and then only 2 chapters later we get this scene where it literally says, this is reality, fact, truth, the answer. It's like testing the reader, how much can you take? I don't know if that was necessarily the point. I can see why you could interpret it that way. In my mind, it wasn't necessarily to test the reader. I think what we saw were 2 extremes. One extreme is where, like, from the direction that Maria was going in terms of trying to see things in a positive light and like making her own happiness by controlling her perception on things that she cannot really control in terms of what they're happening, right? She can at least control her perception. That's what she was doing. Of course, there is a point there as well that if you go past, it's kind of like you're refusing to see reality, kind of like Maria also kind of crossed it a little bit. And I think that was shown through Sakutaro always trying to convince her, which, by the way, at this point, I still believe Sakutaro is a part of Maria. Is the part of Maria who really loved Rosa and who really clinged to the hope that at some point there was still potential for the relationship to be fixed and for her mom to just love her and for the 2 of them to have a happy life together. And so Sakutaro always insisted on trying to find a way to see things or spin things around so that it wasn't necessarily so negative, which is also an extreme that it's not healthy to go into, because sure, you can try to adjust your perspective as much as you can, but at some point when someone is doing something to this extent and it's a pattern and it's repeated over and over and over again, you have to kind of face reality and accept that, yeah, there was intent there. It wasn't just a mistake, or it wasn't just something that Rosa couldn't control, right? So that's one extreme. And then we're seeing the other extreme where you're no longer accepting any sort of justification, and it's all just rage and pain and anger, and it's all about you being hurt and wanting to hurt back. And I think the novel showed us both, but didn't really tell us, okay, on which side are you? Or what is it? Like, I think we're just allowed to simmer in it and draw our own conclusions about it, which is fair. Oh, you're on the Discord server. Okay. Very cool. It was a direction that the story needed to take. Definitely a thing that the story needed to explore. I agree. I understand why people are put off by it. I think you're supposed to be put off by it. If you're a human and you read that, and there's like not a single thing in it that like feels a little bit, oh my god, this is a little bit much, right? I think that's why it went to that extent, to make you think about it, because in real life we don't really, like, I would hope that you don't really go to extents like that, at least metaphorically speaking, to when you're angry at someone or when you feel like you want to inflict back pain. I hope that you don't. But I think what the story tried to illustrate is just where the path of being consumed by by it can lead. And it's not a beautiful place. And you're supposed to not want that, to not like that. I appreciate stories with someone standing up for the victim of abuse and or the victim standing up for themselves. I totally agree with that. I don't know if this is Maria standing up for herself, though. It started from that place, but it very, very easily devolved into something completely different and way past any sort of I'm standing up for myself thing. I think that's what the extremeness of it and how graphical it was, that's what it was trying to illustrate. When I first saw Sakutaro, I thought to myself, where was he in chapter 1, 2, and 3? Answers really hurt. What you said about anger consuming someone ties a bit into the scene where Inji and Amakusa talk about self-satisfaction and hoping to find acceptance from someone. It can tie into that, yeah, I guess. It can tie, it can, yes. I wouldn't immediately go there because there's a lot of it that's on this side of the conversation with Maria and Rosa that's just strictly about trauma and being physically and emotionally hurt over and over and over again by that by someone. And sure, you can maybe gain at some point a place of self-acceptance where you're like, no, this thing that happened to me, this part is encapsulated in a responsibility that rests with that person and not with me. And maybe you can come to this Zen place where you're like, I am in control of how I feel about this and I decide to let go of it and so on. It's great if you manage to achieve that, but it's so hard. Right? It would be great if everyone who's hurt manages to get to this Zen-like enlightenment. But the truth is, we will carry scars and pain with us throughout our lives that will still hurt. Will still hurt. And yeah, I guess it's a balancing act. Constantly searching for the middle ground where you're not necessarily absolving the person of their guilt. Like, you're seeing it and you're taking it for what it is, but at the same time you're trying to find your own ground to stand on and move on, let go. Rosa is someone who searches for someone to recognize her efforts, to praise her, while Maria is looking for acceptance from her mother. I think it's connected through that. From that perspective. Rosa to me is also, yeah, I think they're both looking for the same thing. That's the sadness of it. Because what Rosa is looking for in other people, she does have from her daughter. Or did before this whole ordeal, which I don't really know where to place because it's like this fantastical, magical, let's kill Rosa over and over again kind of thing. But anyway, she had that from her daughter. Her daughter thought the world of her. And that wasn't good enough for her. And at the same time, Maria was looking for the same kind of approval from her mom. It's just sad. Because if only Rosa had focused on what she had already, such a beautiful thing that she had, instead of destroying it, she could have just loved it. Instead of running around for love from the absolutely wrongest of men that she could possibly choose. Like, where did she find all of them? Ugh. The good thing about having a family that doesn't love you is that you learn to live without it. Rosa's life. Yeah, that's also a thing about how cyclic this whole thing is, because the way the wounds that were inflicted onto Rosa from her family are similar, or coming from a similar place as the wounds that she is inflicting onto Maria. Which is like, have you learned nothing? On the one hand, I understand some part of the humanity of it, but on the other one is like, why? And speaking about this like cycle of pain and hurt, another thing that I think this chapter, at least to me, solidifies is that, sure, you had someone inflict very traumatic pain onto you, and your desire is to hurt back. And the person you hurt then is gonna hurt someone else, and so on. And where does it stop? Where does it stop? It doesn't stop unless someone who's hurt decides that it stops with them. No? It's hard, but yeah. You don't like stories that preach mindless forgiveness, where the author expects us to forgive the abuser just because, and all the victims are okay with that because the author writes them that unrealistically forgiving way. I don't think Fruits Basket preaches mindless forgiveness. That's not what I took from it. But I can understand if you're referring to the last season of the adaptation, they really raced through it. I read the manga over a decade ago, and I didn't have this perception of it. I felt like it made its point. At the same time, just generally speaking, I don't think Fruits Basket stands for mindless forgiveness. I think it's trying to express this whole idea of letting go, and it's going into a place of forgiveness, sure, for those characters and their particular stories, but I don't take from it the idea that we have to forgive no matter what. I actually don't agree with that. If those particular characters decided to forgive, sure, but I think in real life, a much saner place that you can try to reach is to not forgive and still let go and live your life. It's not about the forgiveness on not forgiving. I think this is something that was kind of entangled with everything, and I actually noted on that line that Beatrice said, do you feel like forgiving your mom now after all of this, or should we kill her a couple more times? You don't have to forgive. You can come to this place where you're like, this person did this, and it's reprehensible, and I don't want to absolve them of their guilt, and at the same time, I can try to not live like completely carrying around the weight of the anger and the trauma that they inflicted upon me. And yeah, it's difficult, but I think it's more achievable than just forgiveness, especially when it's something this heavy and this freaking twisted. I mean, Rosa, holy shit. I'm not getting there again because it's upsetting. I don't think it's about dissolving or forgiving someone, but in reality, you can't torture your mother with the help of some witch, so how can you deal with it otherwise? This is an intentionally open question. Oh god, no. The cycle of abuse has been a theme for quite a while in the story. It just becomes even more apparent now, and how paradoxical it can become. You're saying the abused will most likely become the abuser, Small Blue Gem? It can happen, you know, the whole cliche with hurt people, or the bullies were bullied themselves. It can happen. I think in real life it can manifest in ways that it's not necessarily, it can go there, like someone's abused and then they become an actual abuser. But I think it can manifest in more insidious ways as well. So we just gotta try to gain a little bit of self-awareness and not allow that to happen to ourselves, because you the flow perfecto Umineko memes once I finish read. I have no idea what that is. But sure, once I finish reading, I can check out anything you want. Just link it to me. Yeah, you're talking about Fruits Basket. I felt like the manga flowed well, at least from my very vague memories from over a decade ago when I did read it. I liked it. I resonated with it a lot. They really rushed through the last season. I didn't even realize it was gonna be half a season until I was like I don't know, 8 episodes in. I was like, what are they doing? This is too fast. What's happening? I realized I popped into the stream at a good time preaching my love for Rosa. It's okay. It's fine if you like Rosa. It's fine if you like any character. It doesn't matter what I think, what others think. We're here because we're connected by this huge story that resonates in so many ways in our lives. And from my book, you can like any character. It is fine. It's all good. Akito had been abusing everyone, and Tori would be like, don't be mean, we love you, we're family and stuff. And every Akito's victim was alright with that. It wasn't really like that though. I do understand how the anime made it seem that way. It was not, yeah. It was quite disappointing given how good the first 2 seasons had been. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't search for things on YouTube, because then my YouTube feed might get, my YouTube recommendation algorithm might start suggesting things that I shouldn't be seeing. If that's what you mean. Connected by the pain, Mineko. Yes, good one. Okay, Bea, I see you're upset by Fruits Basket. I'm really sorry. It's great when you get Umineko solved, XXS is the culprit in your feed. Yeah, no, I'm not doing, I'm actually not looking at any Umineko content aside from what is shared in my Discord in the channel. Like, I'm not Googling it, I'm not, nothing of nothing. Sorry. I'm sorry, Bea. But also, Hattori, are you talking about Shigure? Maybe I'm confusing things. Anyway. It blazed through them so fast that they didn't even crystallize that well in my mind. Like... Anyways. Yeah, it'd be 1:45 for me. Usual point of ending the stream. I don't know how eloquent or put together I was in my impressions. I hope I didn't hurt anyone, because that's not my intent or ever my desire. No, it's okay. Ah, you meant about yeah, because like when you said Hattori didn't do that. Yeah, Shigure was a little bit, yeah. Shigure did some things that are very questionable, but in the end, we all look at him with love, I guess. So it's fine. I don't know about Fruits Basket, but I agree with Teacher that some stories have a very shallow, preachy way of teaching forgiveness. It can be. It may be. That's why I wanted to also, you know, not give that impression, because I don't believe in forgiveness for just for the heck of it. It would be great. It's just the highest Zen enlightenment moment when you can go to the place where you fully, thoroughly forgive someone who has inflicted deep pain into you. But we're all human, and especially when you're carrying something around and the repercussions of it for your entire life, that's just, it's quite of a high task to put yourself up to. And yeah, I think, like I said, it's much more achievable and a healthier thing to figure out how to you can still live your life without that weighing you down. But it doesn't have to be forgiveness. If some people can reach it, depending on their circumstances, it's amazing. It's great. But most people, especially people who are abused to the extent that Maria was, it's not really something that is attainable. And I think the point of the chapter wasn't necessarily that forgiveness is out of the question, but it's definitely out of the question if you are approaching it from the perspective, I'm going to hurt you as much as you hurt me. Then I'm going to be able to let go. No, I unfortunately don't think that is the path either. I think by that path you mostly hurt yourself, and I think that was the point of it. If someone can forgive anyone, then that's great, but being patronizing to someone, just forgive them, do it right now, is a different matter. Yes, of course. I totally agree with that. I said it in a much more roundabout way. But the point stands that you cannot, you know, set forgiveness as this ultimate goal that everyone has to achieve, because in a lot of circumstances it's just, it's too much. It's too much. Yep. All right, let's leave it here for tonight. It was enough pain. Yeah, and I guess we're diving a bit more into what's happening on the game board next time. So, yay! I don't know. It seems like it has the potential to go even in even crazier places than we've gone before. So I'm bracing myself. Next one's gonna be the one. That's always the case. Okay, we'll see then. For now, take care. Have a good night. Thank you so much for the chats and for hanging out with me at the end of the stream. See you again on Thursday. Bye bye.